Oh, okay, we're live. All right. Hi, welcome to the Luxe conversation with myself, Jacqueline Chyi. Today we're going to be talking about self care with Ashley Browning. She is a self love and self care expert. She has a um, a brand called She's Selfish, and she's going to be the one to kind of tell you about all that good stuff here. I do have. Oh goodness, give me 1 second. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. This is different, and I really. How do you feel about how do you feel about how it was to get on this platform with me? Have you used it before?
I used it one other time. I like the platform. I did
Okay,
another
cool.
podcast and they used this platform.
Yes, yes. So I know we met one time in person. I believe it was at the Manifestation Mixer, and I saw that you did a presentation of. I mean, not a presentation. I guess it's a presentation. And you talked about self care, but I walked away and kind of was involved in some other things. So I'm really looking forward to hear about this today. So, what what brought you to, first of all, tell us about yourself. Tell us about, who you are and why self care is important to us. I mean, important to you.
So, like she said, my name is Ashley Browning. I started my self care journey either 2018 or 2019. I was just at a place where I was like just completely burnt out from through work, just life in general. So I began a new job, and at that time, I was working on a project that made me see how important self care is.
Okay.
Um, and so within there, I began to just start my journey when I got it just clicked like you got to take care of yourself or you won't be able to help or take care of anybody else. So that's how the journey kind of like just it was like a light bulb went off, and that's kind of how it just started.
Hey, I definitely understand that. So my brand is, Manifest Lux. I believe that we've kind of briefly talked about it before, and so the self care that is involved in taking care of your body, and taking care of your mind, and all of that is a part of my brand as well. And so that's why I'm really excited to have you here, because it's kind of like we are both in the same lane in a sense. And I know that you are a teacher, right?
I am, yeah.
Okay. So are you considered a professor or a teacher? Like, which one
I
should I
can,
want to I want to address you correctly?
whatever you say is fine. Like
Okay.
I am a professor, but
Okay.
um, I
I
teach.
love that.
I'll
I
just say
love
I
that. I
teach.
love to see black professors out here, okay? Because there is not too many of them. And so I'm very proud of you for that accomplishment and just, being the leader that you are in the community. I've kind of done a little bit of research on you, and I've talked to people, and they've always had good things to say. And it's definitely an honor to be able to do this with you today. So, um, what question I have for you is, what is self care?
For me, I believe that self care is a journey.
Okay.
I do not think that it is how we make it things to do. Like, I got to go get my nails done or I got to go do this. No, I think that's just normal maintenance, routine maintenance. But I believe that self care is a journey in a sense that you have to work on yourself daily.
Okay.
So it's not just something that you do, it is a continuous process.
Yes, I love that. So that is such a new and fresh perspective on self care, but it is so real,
Hmm.
because a lot of times we put stigmas or categories of things that are considered self care, but that's not realistic to what everyone is able to either have access to or availability of. when it comes to like, getting your nails done or getting your hair done and stuff like that, that is, like you said, routine maintenance. I don't think that a lot of times um, people don't do it because they feel like it is an extra thing to do. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's already something that you're supposed to do for yourself, then it's really not, not to take away from the luxury of it at all. But self care can be, like you said, whatever you want. And um, my 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 viewpoint on self care changed during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Most
I
people
would
do
tell
it.
you that.
Yeah.
I would tell you that. Did that have any effect on you?
So I think now I'm more affected than during the pandemic, like when we were
Okay.
actually in the pandemic. And I'll say, for me, I've always been able to, like, I found different things to do while in the pandemic. So like I was able to do yoga. I joined a group, Black Girls Yoga, I think is the name of the group, and we did yogas like throughout the pandemic. So I was able to find like a lot of online things to do through that
Okay.
process. But now I just want to be social, and there's still a lot of limits to that. So I think that's where my issue is,
Okay.
now with COVID and, all of the things that come along with the pandemic.
I can see that. I definitely can. There is a lot of limitations that we didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I think that, like you said, if say someone said, well, self care is, you know, just going shopping at the mall. Well, if that's their self care, they lost their outlet, or self care is going to the beach and, they closed down the beach. They lost their outlet to self
Mm-hmm.
care that way as well. Um, so for me, my self care was being able to get away from my house, get away from my kids. And yeah. You
Yeah, that didn't happen in the pandemic.
was stuck. So it
Stuck,
didn't
stuck.
matter what I did. I could go outside. And so it really made me appreciate going outside and going for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Going outside and, just getting some fresh air. That is really like important to
Yeah,
me. And
I
I think
also
it
think
should.
that the pandemic also allowed us to do things that we haven't done in a long time because we're so busy with life. So because
Yeah.
you were stuck in the house, you had to figure out things to do. So I
Yeah.
bought a whole bike in the pandemic. I don't ride a bike, but I bought one
Same
because I
on
was
bike.
didn't want to be in the house.
Yes.
So you was finding new ways and new things to be creative in a way, to still not feel like you going crazy.
Right. I definitely agree. So that brings me to my next question. Now you say you bought you a bike, right? For just to venture out into some different types of self care. And like somebody might say, well, you don't need a bike. Why did you buy a bike? Da, 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 da. Like because they feel like, doing things for yourself is not necessarily um a necessity. Like you gotta, maybe like their priorities are different. You gotta take care of this, you gotta take care of that, da, 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 da. So they consider it selfish that you are doing these other things. And this is just an example. Of course, buying a bike is not selfish,
Uh-huh.
but just to get to like the gist of what your brand is, why do you think people consider self-care selfish?
I think that we have been taught, especially women of color, that we need to put everything we need to put everyone and everybody before us. So
Mm-hmm.
we have been taught that you got to share or you got to do this, and or if not, you're selfish. And
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
think
that really
that,
does make sense.
yeah, I don't think that you're selfish. I think self-care is not selfish because I feel like you need to be selfish, because if you don't be selfish, nobody else gonna care about you.
No,
um
they aren't. They're not gonna listen to you. They're not gonna check on you. They're not gonna do anything. I know this is probably TMI, but when I was living at home, well, I say living at home. That makes no sense. Okay, so a year ago, I lived in an apartment, and I was going through an extreme depression. And people would come over to my house and kick it with me and smoke and da da da. And I was and I didn't realize that my environment was super chaotic and super, distorted, but they didn't care because I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I had kind of gotten back into myself and eliminated that depressive behavior, um, I I'm like, why wouldn't you guys tell me I was living like that? They like, well, you living in it. We thought you knew. No, like you know me as a person. So to me, I feel like you should be like, hey, Jack, are you okay? Are you
Mm-hmm.
cool? Like this is not you. Like why you know? But like you said, if you don't care about it, they're not going to care about it. And that really was a big eye opener for me to to practice self awareness wholeheartedly because I can't understand how I could miss that. You know, just like but that was the lack of self-care, the lack of self-love was really seeping in at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you have to someone who is struggling with maybe depression or anything like that that would keep you from taking care of yourself, or what type of self-care activities um would you suggest that they do in order to kind of help themselves be more positive and uplifting and joyous?
So I'm all about, because I believe that people think that like self care is like this expensive thing, and I'm
Hmm.
all about it not being expensive, or not being cost effective, because financial self care is a form of self care as well.
Okay.
So I definitely would suggest for someone who may be going through depression or anxiety or anything like that. I'm a mental health advocate, so I'm gonna always say find out a therapist if that's something that you're interested in. I'm gonna be pro therapy, okay? So that's one of the things I would definitely suggest. I'm definitely going to suggest
Y'all heard
that.
that? Get you a therapist.
Get you a
I
therapist. It
second
is a lot of
that.
black therapists out there. Don't let media or people fool you and saying that black people are not in the profession. They are in the field, and so I would say definitely get a therapist. Definitely get you um, journal. Begin to meditate. It's an app called Shine. It's a black-owned app where you can meditate daily. It's free. There is, of course, a
Fine.
paid option,
Okay. I'm gonna have to check
but
that one out.
the free one, yeah, it's really good. You can do it's like 10 minutes a day. Do that. I will figure out whatever your spiritual, or you tap into your higher power, or whatever you believe in. I think we are all spiritual beings, so you have to figure out what am I connected to.
Right.
So if whatever your connection or your higher power is, I would say definitely tap into that and figure out what you need to do, as it if it's prayer, affirmations, if it's like I said, meditate, and if it's any of that, like tap into those things, all free things that you can do.
Yes.
So definitely, I would say definitely start there. But like I said, most importantly, I would say definitely start with a therapist. Also, I would say check your friends too. Check that circle that you're around, because if you're the only one growing in that circle, it's time to eliminate yourself from that environment.
Ooh,
Um,
child, I learned that lesson this year. But listen, I mean, I done learned it a couple times, but it's like in different seasons, it hits differently, okay? And
yeah.
you gotta let people go when it's their time to go. So I
Hmm.
second that there. I truly believe that your friendships are a reflection of how much you care about yourself too.
Hmm.
So that's definitely something I agree with. So tell us more about She's Selfish.
So I started a business in 2019 with two co-owners. Our business was Self-Care Ain't Selfish. And I always knew that I wanted to do another component. So with Self-Care Ain't Selfish, we did a event. So we switched from Self-Care Ain't Selfish. I mean, I saw a spinoff. She's Selfish as a spinoff of Self-Care Ain't Selfish. And I do self-care coaching. I knew it was a part of me because one, I am a teacher, and two, I knew that I have the gift of helps. So within my gift, I know I have to, my job, or what I know I'm called to do, is help people. So
Yes.
I knew within that component I needed to do self care coaching. So that's pretty much what She's Selfish is self care coaching for primarily women of color. And also we host events, self care events. I believe you came to one of them, right?
Yes.
Um, I can't remember what it was
I
called now.
did. It inspired me to, get myself together and like really get out there with my own brand and just be more active and whatnot. Because a lot
Yeah.
of times people put us in a box and they say, "Oh, you do this, so you can't do that, and you do this, so you can't do that." But I'm certified to do it. I went through the processes and the experiences to be able to
Hmm.
facilitate it. So why not? I think it was called.
It was part of a series called Sis, Hey Sis.
Yes, and it
Uh,
was you had them every other Saturday
Sunday,
or every Saturday
Sundays, the
or
Sundays
Sunday.
in September.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And
I really wanted to attend more. September was a weird month for me, but I was grateful that I got to attend the one that I did. It actually
mhm,
brought me closer to someone who I was, you know how you have those Facebook friends that you don't know, but they your friends for real.
mhm,
And so yeah, it brought me closer to Cynthia. And also it just made me realize that I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm constantly, searching for that. Like, okay, this is right. This is the way to go. It may not be making sense right now, but you are on the right path, Jacqueline, and let's do this.
mhm. Well, I'm glad you was able
And
to come out, and I hope you got something from it.
yes, I did. And I actually still have the workbook at home, that was handed out.
Hmm.
And as you can tell, I like to talk, so I enjoyed the conversations. Um, So, with that being said, I'm now understanding what She's Selfish is. I definitely, for some reason, I thought that she ain't selfish, or something like. I thought they were the same thing at one point, and so now that clarification kind of helps me out.
Yeah, I tried to explain it
So
now because
if
people
you
try
would
to get
want,
they mix them up, but I tried to explain. I'm like, it was
yes,
a
yes.
business
So
with partners, and then this one is just by myself.
okay, so is the one that's with your partners, is that still available, and what is that about?
We are working on trying to figure out, are we going to revamp it or whatever, but we definitely would probably offer conferences. Um,
Okay.
so we definitely probably would definitely still offer that, but they're doing their own things. They're great ladies. One is her focus is breast cancer,
Okay.
primarily for women of color, and the other focus is domestic violence and teen dating violence. So
Okay, that is
that's what the
really dope.
conference.
Like,
Yeah.
I really would like more information on that. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I don't like to say that. I just feel like I'm like past the victimization of it all, like in
Uh-huh.
my mind. So I hate to say that, but yes, I like to be a part of things like that. I like to promote awareness towards it, um, and also just make it not so, um, I guess, hard for people to talk about. Like,
Hmm.
simplify the way we speak about things so that people can understand what it looks like. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as we see on TV sometimes. It could be like a lot of different things: verbal, emotional, all types of abuse, domestic violence plays into. But we don't have to get too much into that. I do know that you do something else outside of the self love coaching. Is that like, because I thought I saw somewhere you were doing like a teen health?
Oh, so that's my job. I actually do.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so also with She Selfish, I focus on meditation, mindfulness, self love, and sexual health. And so, how
Okay.
the sexual health component came into place is through my job, where I educate 18 to 24-year-old African American students on sexual health and substance abuse at three local colleges in the area. That's really kind of how like this She Selfish sexual health component came about, was because I realized in teaching the students that the parents didn't know much either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, this is a like, let's do this, because I know that, especially even with friends, we have girl talk and all of that stuff, and I also know that a lot of times
Misinformation, huh?
it's a lot of misinformation.
A
It's a
lot of that
struggle for
going
women of
on.
color in general when it comes to like sexual pleasure or any of that. So I want to be like, be able to educate and bring awareness and make it something like sex positive. Like in the black culture, it's so taboo, or women are labeled as hoes or whatever because of they want to be sexually free. And I'm like, why? So I want to erase that stigma and debunk the myths around sexual pleasure, sexual health, and making sure that we do take care of ourselves as women of color, because we are at this time we are 11 times more likely to contract HIV than any other gender race group or gender group.
Yeah.
So we need to like dead these statistics and put ourselves first. So that's a part of self care as well, putting yourself first.
Yes, put yourself first, be knowledgeable so that you can protect yourself.
Hmm.
I love that. I wish that that was available when I was growing up. But I was grateful because I was a very much a book reader. So they had like the period books and all of that good
Hmm.
stuff that explain what was it? I think it was called Life. I don't know, some sort of brand. No, was it called Girl Talk or something like
Oh
that? It was
yeah, I
some
remember Girl Talk. It was
yeah,
a
it was
game.
like
Was it a
some
game?
brand of books that like you
Uh,
could just find out everything. So girl, I was reading the books. But in this day and age, like you would think we would be so much further in that area as far as educating ourselves and educating our children, but we're not. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a lack of resources, a lack of education in certain areas. I think it's a whole systemic thing anyway. I think that Black people are oppressed people, and so they withhold information for us to keep us in this same like dire this same spiral basically. So like there's no way that Black people shouldn't be aware of pill things like PrEP and stuff like that. So PrEP is a pill that you can take. It's commercials more so,
Right.
but it's still not accessible to everybody.
Oh,
So it's a pill that
okay.
you take once a day for if you are have risky sexual behavior, and that can be anybody. Most people always equate that to homosexuality or anything like that, but if you don't use condoms, guess what? You're at risk.
Right.
So, that kind of stuff, making sure that we are aware and let people know what's out there and what's coming down the pike, or, how you can be involved in the process and how can you better your health and, all of that good stuff.
Well, that is so good. Like, I'm glad that you have that insight, and I'm pretty sure that there are other people that have benefited from your conversations and events. I saw that you did a Christmas one not too long ago, but I had COVID, so I couldn't make it to that. COVID was doing its thing during Christmas. But
That's when it had really ramped up like a week after my event. Like everybody, I seemed like everybody had it.
man,
Uh,
it really did. And so with that, I want to go to asking you, like, okay, so we get COVID, you're stuck in house, you're no longer quarantined for 14 days anymore, but you are still secluded for a time period. So, what are some um I guess tips that you can give the viewers on things that they could do to, number one, educate themselves and also practice self care and self love in the process of
so
that.
I would definitely say read. Like I found that reading is very beneficial for like that motivation to like kind of get you started on that self care journey. So if you like into devotionals and stuff, it's the Bible app. I think it's called.
I do
um,
that.
so
Oh
yeah, on
gosh.
the Bible
Okay.
app.
Sorry, I'm animated.
No, I can't remember. I think it's just the Bible app. I can't
Yeah,
remember the name of it,
it's
but
the Bible app by U version.
U version. That's
Um,
what it is.
yeah.
So on there you can type in whatever you need. So if you're going through anxiety, you can type it in and it's devotionals for it. But there are a few self care ones that I like read all the time. So go in there and type in self care. You can start there. It kind of gets you started or jump started on that self care journey. Um, it's a lot of books. I feature books each month. So if you need something to read, just go on my Instagram page and you can see a few books that I feature each month for us to read. Also, coloring, I offer free coloring pages for people who are just in the house and they like, well, might as well. So, but coloring is a good outlet and it's a good way to, start focusing on just time with yourself. I think those are good places to start, especially and I know COVID is more mental than anything most of the times. So because everybody have seen like this scare of everybody's dying, so you just automatically think,
Mhm.
if I got it bad, I'm gonna die too. But that's not the case. It's a mental thing. So
Right.
you gotta work on
Oh wow.
that mental part.
Excuse that ambulance in the background, y'all. Oh man. Yes. like you said, it's more mental. So when you're talking about your mental health and, practicing self care. I know I just asked you for some tips on COVID, but what are some mental health self care tips outside of, of course, we said before, therapy is one of the ways that you can practice mental health self care. But what are some other ways that you can go about, kind of accessing mental health self care outside of therapy? Because sometimes it can take time to get a therapist, or maybe
Mhm.
they don't have insurance, or maybe they're just kind of scared, they're not ready for that yet.
I would definitely say start out with journaling. And I know sometimes journaling can seem like a chore. So that's how I was at my point. I feel like it was work, right? So my therapist, she suggested that I do video journaling. So
Oh,
all you do is just take your phone or whatever you want to use, and you basically just speak into your phone like your video blog, right? But you
okay.
can either not listen to it after you get done, or you can replay it. It's up to you. So it's basically a way to like say how you feel for the day, or how you feel during that moment. And it's like a way to just get it off your chest, and then like basically forget about it. So I think that is helpful. Excuse me. I think that is helpful as well.
Video journaling. That
Mm-hmm.
is so awesome. Like I never really I've started a vlog before, like where I did day by day, and I'm like, okay, da 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 da, and never showed it to anybody, never posted it, never really looked at it
Switch it up
myself.
like that. Yep.
But I didn't know that that's what I was doing. So to know
Yeah.
that that's an actual thing,
Yeah.
yeah, that's super dope. I definitely agree. Like that could be a good way to get it out. And then maybe instead of like sometimes journaling, like it's just doing a brain dump, right?
Yep.
Just
But
writing
I
a list of
definitely,
things.
I always, I promote doing brain dumps and getting everything out on the paper, like what it's in your head or whatever.
Right. So with your self care company, is it geared towards women? Is it geared towards both men and women? I think you said before,
Yeah,
like,
primarily women of color. So we live in a we don't really have a lot of different, ethnicities here in Dayton, but
yeah.
all women of color.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that's really good. And then how can people find you, like on social media? And what like services can you offer them on your website? I know you mentioned self love coaching, but is there anything else that you can offer them on your website?
So you can find me on all social media platforms at She's Selfish LLC. So that's on Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, IG, and Facebook. Or you can always find my personal page, Ashley M. Browning. My website is www.sheselfish.com. Also, you can find me on my website. We have services that I offer right now is Girl Talk. So that's just basically a session where we can vent, figure out, what's going on with your self-care and ways I can possibly help you. And then we have a self-care strategy session where we could put down a plan or a strategy to help you jumpstart and to maintain your self-care. And then I actually have weekly and monthly opportunities. And I also have group sessions for self-love and sexual health. So like if it's you had a teen, I start with teenagers on that. So as long as it's parental consent for teenagers, and then we start talking about like sexual health and ways to like like I said, be safe and stuff like that.
Okay, that's
So
super.
I teach you how to wear a condom. I mean, use a condom because people don't know how to use condoms. So I teach
What?
you like all
I
that
mean, sorry, like I know that, but just to hear you say it, it's kind
yeah.
of like people still don't know how to use condoms. It's
No,
YouTube out
they be
here,
putting them
girl.
on backwards. They put them on backwards and stuff. So
We got Google, we got Wikipedia. At this point, you would think it would just be like, okay, but I guess if you don't, oh man, but that is super awesome that you offer that and that like people, are able to access something that maybe they didn't know they needed. And I think that this conversation between the two of us might help to unlock some of that, like not really knowing that you might not know how to take care of yourself properly. You might need some guidance in that area, or you might have a negative viewpoint of self-care, but it's not really It's not really like that, sis, you know? And so I think that it's really great what you're doing. And we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I did put all of your information, how to contact you, in the description. And is there anything that you would like to leave our viewers with before we go?
So if you are looking for options, free options for self care, I have them on my website. So under is sheselfish.com backspace links. So under there, you have option of a self care calendar. You have some financial goal settings, things, a free planner. So it's a lot of free things on there that you can do for self
Okay.
care, and I would say that's a good place to start.
Well, everybody loves free. I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to join me. And I ask that you guys go follow Ashley Browning on her platforms and check out her services, and make sure that you are practicing self care this month, this week, this year, and for the rest of the day. Do something to take care of yourself. You guys have a wonderful day.
Bye bye.